will be the next pope. If you're on X, Twitter, Facebook, social media, everything is buzzing over the Papabile, those who are papable, those who might be elected to the See of St. Peter in Rome. And as I promised yesterday when I talked about my memories of Pope Francis, the ups, the downs, and everything we've been talking about here on the Dr. Taylor Marshall podcast for 12 years, over a decade. Yesterday I said I'm going to start tomorrow going through the Cardinals and breaking it down, giving my thoughts on it. I'm going to do some very deep analysis today. I'm going to go through all the different continents, the votes, how the votes are tallied, the voting blocks. Can Africa and Asia unite as a voting bloc to elect a cardinal to be pope? Do they have enough people? I'll give you a hint. They don't. Africa and Asia don't. Can Europe and North America create a bloc? Just about. It's pretty serious. I'm going to show you some of these graphs. For example, this graph and also this graph of the different nations, the number of votes. We're going to break all of this down. And I did a poll ahead of time. Who do you want me to start off with? Cardinal Sarah, Cardinal Burke, Cardinal Erdo. And I'll just show you some of them. That's Parolin. We're going to start with Cardinal Parolin today. He's considered the number one papabile for the progressive cardinals. He would be a almost full continuity with Pope Francis, synodality, blessings for same-sex couples. He sees Vatican II as prophetic and irreversible. Those are his words. He's not friendly to traditionalists, the traditional Latin Mass. So he would be the most progressive. That's Cardinal Parolin. You see him on the screen. He's Secretary of State. Other favorites, of course, are Cardinal Sarah. Cardinal Sarah is, I think, on social media amongst Catholics, the current most popular choice. He is a little bit older. We'll look into ages as well. And we'll look at also nationality, whether that's a plus, a minus. But Cardinal Sarah is definitely the top. I probably will move to Cardinal Sarah tomorrow. So make sure you like the video. Make sure you're subscribed here at the Dr. Taylor Marshall podcast. We'll be going through first row papabile and second row papabile. I'm going to explain what that means in just a minute. So that's Cardinal Sarah. I think he'd be fantastic. He's known for being critical of the Pope Francis pontificate. For example, Cardinal Sarah said, as you can see on the screen, he spoke out against clergy blessing same-sex couples. He called it diabolical. So Cardinal Sarah's been pretty vocal on that. Another major papabile, big time, Cardinal Pizzaballa, Patriarch of Jerusalem. He's a Franciscan. He's young. If he were elected, we could be looking at a 25, 30-year pontificate. That's actually a negative for him. And we'll probably look at him third. I might do him not tomorrow, but the next day. I've already done a video on Pizzaballa, and I think he's a very strong candidate. I think he would be a positive for traditional Catholics, and I'll explain why in that video. And then another important papabile is Cardinal Erdo from Hungary. You see him on the screen. He's known as a very revered canon lawyer, very sober. He could bring about repair to the Holy See, and he's European. He's very well respected, and a lot of people see him as a number one first row papabile, if not definitely a second row. So let's get right in it. I'm going to put Cardinal Parolin back on the screen here, and I will be doing a Q&A at the end, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on Cardinal Parolin. I think my audience, being traditional Catholic, we like the traditional Latin Mass, and we've been scandalized and concerned, and a lot of questions over things that have happened under the pontificate of Francis, whether it's the topless Pachamamas, the synodality, the statement at Abu Dhabi that God wills the plurality of religions, the sacking of Bishop Strickland or even Archbishop Vigano. There's a whole story here. And Cardinal Parolin would definitely indicate some continuity. So let's look at what needs to happen for a pope to be elected. Okay, we have 135 cardinals that are eligible to vote. There's supposed to be 120. Pope Francis has stacked this. He's gone over the 120. A lot of people are upset about this. It's happened before. John Paul II set the precedent of putting in extra cardinals here, and what a pope does overrides canon law. So some people are saying, oh, they're going to restrict it to the 121st. I think they're going to go with the whole 135. That's what they've done before. 83, I didn't actually do the count myself. I found this elsewhere. 83 have been appointed by Francis. So that's 61% of the voters have been appointed by Francis. That points towards a continuity with Francis. And in order to be elected, you need a 2/3 majority. So 2/3 of 135 is 90. If they want to do 2/3 plus 1, 91. I've seen 90, 91. I don't know how exactly that's going to be decided. I'm sure it'll be decided before they go into conclave. So let's just, for simplicity's sake and for today's show, we're going to use the number 90. All right, we're going to need 90 votes in conclave to elect the next pope. And yesterday I talked how conclaves worked, and I might reference it some today, but I encourage you to watch yesterday's show about the death of Pope Francis and my personal reflections on that, and then also talking about what to expect during the time of mourning, which is now, the burial, which will happen on Saturday, I heard, and then the conclave, which can begin 15 to 20 days after the death. So we're moving along into that time period. So let's look briefly, before we look into the life and the theological positions and the reputation of Cardinal Parolin, let's look real quick just at the global situation when it comes to electing the Pope. So I'm going to put back these charts on the screen, and this is going to be really helpful. I'm breaking this down for y'all into bite sizes. And by the way, if you go on Facebook or X, there's a lot of experts on papal elections all of a sudden. All right. I have written a book called The Eternal City that talks all about the history of the papacy, the history of the cardinals, the history of conclaves from a biblical theological point of view. This is a great book. Seminaries use it. Seminarians use it. It's been out for a long time. It's excellent. If you want to go deeper on that, I encourage you to get a copy of my book, The Eternal City, Rome in the Origins of Catholic Christianity. So I'm not just making this up. Done some research, have some background on it, and here we go for the modern. Okay, 135. If you look at the map over Cardinal Parolin's face on the screen, you'll see 16 voters in North America, 4 in Central America. That's actually 20 for North America, technically. South America, 17 votes. Africa, 18 votes. Asia, 23 votes. Europe, with a whopping 53 votes. All right, Europe is definitely represented. And then Oceania, 4 votes. And usually people group Asia and Oceania together. So that'd be 23 plus 4, you get 27. Another breakdown you'll see at my right shoulder. And you can see how those numbers stack up, getting to 135. And what's notable here is that number 53 for Europe. And I'm going to put another graphic on the screen. These are the traditional blocks. So remember earlier we said we needed 90 votes to elect a pope. Well, here's the traditional blocks. You'll see those on my left shoulder right now. 53 votes in Europe, 20 in North America, 17 in South America. If those 3 blocks, Europe, North America, and South America, can come together, can coalesce, and by the way, Europe, North America, and South America tend to represent more progressive cardinals, certainly in North America. Our North American cardinals are liberal. All right, Europe, by and large. South America, these are going to be more Bergoglian types. So as you can see there, this might be concerning to my traditional Catholic audience here. If you could bring Europe, North America, South together into one voting block, you would have the 90 votes. It'd be a slam dunk. You get the Pope you want in the first one or two ballots. It's done. Now, a lot of people for several years now have been saying, oh, the African cardinals are so conservative. The Asian cardinals, these are what's called from the peripheral. All right. And they're so conservative and they're going to bring us in a conservative pope. They do tend to be more conservative, except for like a Cardinal Tagle. But if you look at their representation, you have 18 votes in Africa and 27 votes in Asia and Oceania. So that's 45 votes. Even if the Africans and the Asians could all unite into a voting bloc and have their candidate, they only have 45 votes. They're only halfway there to electing their candidate. Okay, so that's a big concern. I'm putting these numbers on the screen ahead of time because I want you to understand the canvas on which we are painting. All right, and if you like this and this is helpful, this is a great moment. Please like the video. Take a moment right now, hit the share button, share it on X, and share it on Facebook, because I guarantee you there's no one doing this amount of clear research, analysis, and teaching on this. Okay, so like the video, please share it. You are my algorithm. So this is the canvas that we're painting with. And I want you to see from the very beginning that hoping that Africa and Asia can come together as a bloc and bring in a conservative pope is not going to happen. They are a sizable bloc. They're 45 votes. But even if they were united and even if they were all traditional and conservative, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Now, looking up at the traditional blocks, we have Europe, North America, South America. It's unlikely that they'll be able to congeal around one candidate right away. Again, there's a Cardinal Burke in there, you know. There's a Cardinal Erdo in there. They're going to have a hard time getting over the finish line with their 90 votes as well. And so what that does is, I'm going to take some of these off the screen here. What that does is you come into the conclave and there's the initial ballots and you have your first row candidates. All right. This is your Cardinal Parolin. This is your Cardinal Sarah. This is your Cardinal Pizzaballa. This is Cardinal Erdo. There's some others. If they are a first row candidate and they can come in and capture 2/3 or get close to 90, their momentum is going to push them and they're going to get elected. This happened with Cardinal Ratzinger after John Paul II died. This happened with Bergoglio. He was elected very quickly. He came in as a first row candidate, strong. After a few ballots, boom, he was elected. So is there someone coming into this conclave that is a front row candidate who can come in and within the first one or two ballots have 80 something votes? If there is, we will see a very fast conclave and that man will be elected. And I think, okay, so this is, I'm going to move this over here. A lot of stuff on the screen. This is like the old Dr. Taylor Marshall podcast where I had all kinds of stuff on the screen. I think that the two front row candidates coming into this could be a Cardinal Sarah, Cardinal Pizzaballa, and then Cardinal Parolin. And this is why I wanted to start my series with Cardinal Parolin. He is a front row candidate. He is obviously the pro-Francis, pro-synodality, pro-Vatican II is the best thing that ever happened. So if he can come in and with 80 votes with your European, North American, South American, and he's like, I'm Francis 2.0, and I'm Italian. That's a plus. And I know everybody because I've been working here at the Vatican as the number 2 under Francis. I am, locked, ready, loaded to go, elect elect this guy and we're good, it's going to happen really fast. But if there's another front row candidate that's conservative, whether it's Sarah or Pizzaballa, maybe Erdo, I don't know if he has that much momentum, and they come in and neither one of them can really get close to that 2/3, they'll go ballots, right? And it won't come up on those 2/3. Then what happens is the Cardinals, and you see this in history, and I go through this history of the conclaves going back to Pope Pius X in my book, Infiltration. What you see happening is they move to the second row Cardinals. These are the Cardinals that you may not hear about on Facebook and X. You may have not heard of them before, but they have respect. They've done great things. They're well known. They're trusted. And what happens is those two groups that are putting their front row candidate forward and they can't quite get that 2/3 majority, they start looking at their second row. There's progressive pro-Francis second row. There's more conservative second row. And they start voting for them and seeing if they can start to shift it. And what usually happens in these situations is one of those, and they usually tend to be a little more moderate, one of those second rows begins to move towards 70, 80, those 90 votes to 66%. And that's going to take more ballots and more time. So those are the two likely voting situations. Now, if Parolin has friends in high places and friends in low places, and he comes in and he has close to the 2/3, they will elect him and that'll be it. All right. So let's look at a snapshot of Cardinal Parolin. First of all, I want to go through and I will be doing a live chat today. So get your questions ready, get your super chats ready. Here are the major considerations that cardinals are thinking about when you're moving into a papacy. And I also want people to understand that currently, I think the bishops and the cardinals of the world feel that the 12 years under Francis have been rattled, divided. It's hard to be a bishop, hard to be a cardinal. Also, if you are a cardinal, it's pretty cool to be a cardinal, right? There's a lot of privileges with a cardinal. And the process of synodality has whittled out what it means to be a cardinal. It sort of deflates the status of being a cardinal. It also, in a way, deflates the status of being a bishop. So I think, old guard bishops, cardinals may have gone along with synodality, but at the end of the day, they may not be in favor of it. So just keep that in your mind, and keep that in mind. Major considerations. These are questions for the next pope. Can he rehabilitate trust and honor for the Vatican? I think trust and honor for the Vatican, not just amongst traditional or conservative Catholics, is at a low. Cardinal McCarrick in America definitely has chopped things down. Donations are way down in diocesan bishop appeals across the country. I've talked to priests in dioceses all over the U.S., and they say it is just, since COVID, it has completely fallen off a cliff. It's hard to get that money. We've also seen the USAID scandals. Dioceses are losing money on that as well. So there needs to be a renaissance in appreciating, loving Catholicism, loving the Catholic Church, not being embarrassed to be a Catholic. And who can be Pope and bring that currency back? I think personally the one that would do it the most effective would be Cardinal Sarah. I think you put Cardinal Sarah as Pope and St. Peter's Square is going to be full again. And people are going to say, yeah, I'll donate to Peter Pence. I trust him. I trust the Vatican. I think things are going back in a positive direction. You put in someone like Cardinal Parolin, and they're just going to think it's just Francis 2.0. So I don't think Cardinal Parolin is a person who can rehabilitate the papacy and the Vatican. Second thing is, can he unite? Is he dynamic? Is he liked? Certainly, under John Paul II, people loved him. He was dynamic. He united people, whether they were charismatics or traditional. He had a persona. He had charisma. I had explained to my kids that they thought there's this word riz, like he's got riz. I said, that's from the word charisma, Greek word. Give me any word, I'll show you how it comes from Greek. He needs charisma. I don't know if Cardinal Parolin has that. I've seen him on camera. I saw him at the announcement yesterday on the death. He doesn't seem to have the charisma. So is he liked? Can he unite people? I think those are big question marks for him. Second one is France's agenda. Is he for or against it? Cardinal Parolin is 100% for it. He's going to be like, we need that synodality. We got to be chilling at Davos. We got to be chilling with the UN, EU. You know, we got to be chilling with Democratic nominees. I mean, it's going to be, we got to keep the Francis agenda going. Nationality, Italian, European, or non-European. He's Italian, and that's a plus. All right. Traditionally, especially when things are shaken up, papacy kind of coalesces back at Rome and Italy. So he does represent that. He's Italian. You know who else has this, though? Cardinal Pizzaballa in Jerusalem. He's Italian. He's Franciscan, Italian. So Pizzaballa also has that. We're not doing Pizzaballa today, but I think Pizzaballa definitely is a front row candidate. He could come in and get 90 votes, especially if people are like, this ain't it. We aren't doing Francis 2.0. We aren't doing synodality. We are not going to be just hugging Hindus and Muslims and Jews for the next 10, 15 years. We want to go different. You can't go with Parolin with that. All right. Is he young or is he old? You look at, say, a Cardinal Sarah. He's 79. He's about to be 80. So, you know, you're thinking here, okay, that's probably 10 years or less, just based on human biology. If you elect someone who's 50, you could have a 30-something year pontificate with modern medicine. That's a big risk. You know, if you pick a guy, he's not so hot, and things go off the rails, it's 30 years, 3 decades. So generally, I did a little research on this. If you take all the popes all the way back to St. Peter and you average out how long their pontificate is, the average, if you average it all out, the average is 7 years. Some popes live 30 days, some popes live 25 years, but the average is 7 years. So you probably want to elect someone, if you want to keep it under 15 years, someone in their 70s, you know. If you elect someone in your 70s, you'll have a run of, 5 to 15 years, and then you elect another one. And then the last consideration is he a front row candidate or is he a second row candidate? I already explained that. Front row candidates are the ones that are already on, Newsweek, and they're on the news. And when you check it out your groceries, there's a magazine there and it says, who will be the next pope? And it has pictures of 8 faces, or you're on Twitter or Facebook and you see the same faces. Those are your front row candidates. Your second row candidates are the ones that are moderate and a little bit lesser known. But when the horns are locked on the front row candidates, sometimes those second row candidates, 1 or 2 of them will emerge and they'll win. All right. So those are the considerations. Those are the continental voting blocks. Let's look at Parolin. I did a quick snapshot of Parolin based on those considerations, and then I'll go through his biography, and then I'll do Q&A. I do need to pause, though, and honor today's sponsor. And today's sponsor is Field of Greens. And I'll tell you what, during Lent and now after Lent, Field of Greens has been a major part of my diet. I try to eat healthy, and Lent was amazing. Definitely lost some pounds. sometimes hard to get all the nutrition. And so Field of Greens is my go-to solution. And I use it. Our family uses it. It's a delicious glass, and it's nutritional armor for your body. Each fruit and vegetable was carefully selected by doctors for a special health benefit. There's a group for heart health, lungs, kidneys, metabolism, and even healthy weight. I love the energy I get with Field of Greens, but most of all, I love the confidence that even if I have a cheat day or a burger, I can still enjoy it because Field of Greens gives me a rounded out nutrition. It provides daily nutrition for my bodily needs, and only Field of Greens makes the better health promise. Your doctor will notice your improved health or your money back. And I've said this before, when I went for my annual physical this year, he said I was more healthy this year on my readings than I was the year before. Field of Greens for me is part of that package, along with eating healthy, working out, running, lifting, etc. So I've noticed since using Field of Greens, better gut health and a brighter complexion, better skin. That's just what I've noticed. So I'd love for you to experience that as well. And so let me get you started with my special discount. You'll get 20% off your first order. Just use promo code TM, fieldofgreens.com, or use the QR code on the screen. Again, use promo code TM at fieldofgreens.com. You can also click on the link in the show notes or the pinned comment to get Field of Greens 20% off your first order. Check it out. I love it. All right, back to Cardinal Parolin. He is 70 years old, so he's a little bit young. So if you elect Cardinal Parolin, you could get a 15-year pontificate. You know, could be longer than Francis Bergoglio. Is that something you want to do? Cardinals have to ask them that self. Where is he with Pope Francis? He's definitely pro-continuity, pro-synodality, pro-progressive. Can he unite? He is rumored to be very powerful. He knows everything in the Vatican. He's the number 2 under the Pope. He's the Secretary of State. But it's rumored that he's not well-liked or trusted because he is so powerful. And if you want to get to Francis, you have to go through him. So that means that he holds a lot of cards. He is extremely powerful, has been powerful. He's hailed as pragmatic and diplomatic. He's not really seen as a theologian or a mystic or a desert father or someone writing, theological books. He's a diplomat. He's the Secretary of State. He is Italian, which is a positive, and he's definitely a first-row candidate for the progressives. He is the first-row candidate for the progressives. He's their number 1 guy going in. You might say, what about Cardinal Tagle? Cardinal Tagle is in my opinion, not Papabile. He cries. He does, break dances. He's very cringe. He does not have gravitas. He's very pro-Francis. He's pro-Francis, but he doesn't have any of the solemnity or weight of someone like Cardinal Parolin. So I think Tagle is out. I know maybe 5 years ago, he was like, oh, he's the Asian Francis. He'll be the next pope. He out. He done. There's some other second row. We'll look into those as well. But I think for the front row, first row, progressive, you got Cardinal Parolin. All right, let's look at some details on Parolin. Born in 1955, and he's considered one of the most prominent figures in the Catholic Church. Today, he holds the second highest office after the Pope. There's the Pope, and usually the 2 most revered cardinals under the Pope is first the Secretary of State, that's Parolin, and then the prefect for the doctrine of faith, for the dicastery for the doctrine of faith, who oversees doctrine. So if you remember under John Paul II, you had Ratzinger. He was the prefect for doctrine of faith. So he was kind of right there. He wasn't Secretary of State, but he was in a way kind of number 3. And he had kind of that gravitas, that sobriety about him. Back to Parolin. He was born in a devout Catholic family in northern Italy. His father was a store manager. His mother was a teacher. And he had a modest but stable upbringing. At the age of 14, he entered the seminary and was committed to becoming a priest. He was ordained a priest April 22nd, 1980, at the age of 25. He pursued advanced studies at the Pontifical Gregorian University in Rome, earning a doctorate in canon law. And for those of you who don't know, canon law in the Catholic Church, we have our own law system that governs, bishops, priests, nuns, monks, lay people, sacraments. And in the Catholic Church, there are people who get their degrees in canon law. You have to know how the church runs. So he is considered an expert, a doctor in canon law. He is fluent in Italian, Spanish, French, and English, and he had a career in the Holy See's diplomatic corps. Parolin's early life reflects a blend of Italian Catholicism and intellectual ambition, shaping his trajectory as a leader. His diplomatic career began in 1986 with postings in Nigeria and Mexico. In Nigeria, he navigated complex relations between the church and a diverse, often volatile society. In Mexico, from 1989 to 1992, he contributed to the legal recognition of the Catholic Church, a significant achievement during a period of tense church-state relations. These early roles honed his ability to mediate in challenging environments. In 2002, Parolin was appointed Undersecretary for Relations with the States, effectively the Deputy Foreign Minister for the Vatican. And he gained a reputation as an expert in Middle Eastern affairs and nuclear disarmament, negotiating the release of 15 British Navy personnel by Iran in 2007. 2009, Pope Benedict XVI appointed him Apostolic Nuncio to Venezuela, a role that tested his diplomatic skills amid the socialist policies of President Hugo Chavez. Parolin's tenure in Caracas was marked by deft handling of church-state tensions, earning him respect for maintaining dialogue in a polarized context. So I'm going to pause here. You can see that he's been a diplomat, and he is good at negotiating. You've got Islamic situations, you've got communist situations, you've got hostages. He's negotiating. So he's not a theologian. I mean, I'm sure he studied some theology in seminary, but he is a guy you send in to get stuff done. He's a Don. All right. He's a Godfather. If you've seen Godfather 3, there's that one archbishop who's always smoking the cigarettes and talking about Immobiliare and all that. He may not be that fidgety, right? But he's a guy that gets stuff done. You need a deal? Like Donald Trump would send this guy in to get a deal done. Cardinal Parolin. I don't think Cardinal Parolin likes Donald Trump, but anyway, you get the idea. In 2013, Pope Francis appointed Parolin as Secretary of State, replacing Cardinal Tarcisio Bertone. At age 58, he became the youngest Secretary of State since Cardinal Eugenio Pacelli, who became Pope Pius XII. Now, Pope Pius XII was Secretary of State and then became Pope. So there's an example of a Secretary of State coming up into the papacy. Parolin's appointment signaled Francis's trust in his diplomatic acumen and moderate theological stance. All right. And Parolin has overseen diplomatic initiatives, including the 2014 restoration of the U.S.-Cuba relations and the delicate negotiations between China and Vietnam and the Vatican deal with China, which is very controversial, and Cardinal Zen does not like it. What about the theology of Cardinal Parolin? He's seen as moderate to progressive. He is a reformist in line with Pope Francis. He views the Second Vatican Council from 1962 to 1965 as, quote, prophetic and irreversible. And he emphasizes the call for a global synodal church. So he wants to mitigate what appears to be a monarchical Vatican I church, and he wants to elevate the people's voices so that there's a synodal church, more of a, I hate to use the word democratic, but it kind of captures the idea here. At a 2017 talk at Catholic University of America, he praised Second Vatican Council's introduction of vernacular liturgy, the concept of the local church, which fosters a decentralized, culturally responsive Catholicism. He rejects criticisms that blame Vatican II for the church's modern challenges, arguing that it remains a vital framework for renewal. So he thinks, keep doing Vatican II, it's eventually going to renew the church, renew the world. So he is all in on Vatican II. Vatican II hasn't worked just because we haven't done Vatican II hard enough. We got to go ride or die Vatican II. Parolin is ride or die V2. You roll up his sleeve, it says V2, ride or die. That's Parolin. He endorsed Amoris Laetitia in 2016. He has supported Pope Francis on divorced and remarried Catholics receiving communion without annulments. And let's see here. On social issues, Parolin balances progressive and conservative perspectives. He has criticized abortion and gender ideology as threats to human dignity, echoing Pope Francis' view that abortion is a matter of reason, not just faith. In a 2024 UN address, he denounced gender ideology as extremely dangerous for nullifying differences in the name of equality. Yet he has also addressed systematic issues like poverty, migration, and war, linking terrorism to social marginalization, and calling for a two-state solution in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. His 2017 visit to Moscow, the first by a Vatican Secretary of State in 19 years, underscored his commitment to ecumenical dialogue and peace. He has been critical of traditional Catholics, and he has not taken a firm stance on issues like the traditional Latin Mass. Controversies, chiefly the controversy is the deal between Vatican and China about the appointment of bishops by the atheist Chinese state, the underground Catholic Church versus the patriotic so-called Catholic Church, the forming of union, the role of ex-Cardinal McCarrick in that. Cardinal Zen was a prominent critic, and he accused Parolin of being naive and even being complicit in doing a deal that hurt the faithful Chinese Catholics. Parolin has defended his deal, and he stated in 2019 that it advances the normalization for Chinese Catholics, though he has admitted its limitations. The agreement remains a polarizing issue, with some cardinals viewing it as a diplomatic failure that could hinder his election as Pope. Another controversy that I've covered here on the Dr. Taylor Marshall podcast, you'll remember in 2018, I started talking about this real estate deal in London, which ended in the loss of tens of millions of dollars. Parolin, the Secretary of State, was implicated, though not charged, in this real estate deal in London that went wrong. Regardless, it was a big scandal. And other figures, you'll remember Cardinal Betchu. I used to always say, I bet you Cardinal Betchu is going to get in trouble. I bet you and I bet you he did. He did get in trouble. And yeah, that's him. The rest of this research is his prospects, and we've already discussed that. So I'm going to pause there, and we're going to move on to Q&A. I want to hear from y'all on the questions, answers. Do you think Parolin is truly a frontline runner? And are you concerned that he will be elected? I think he'll either be elected in the first 1 to 3 ballots or not at all. He either comes in with the 2/3 majority or he doesn't make it at all. That's, I think kind of where we stand, with that. So we have one more sponsor today that I want to honor, and that is, before we do the Q&A, Birch Gold. Birch Gold. The price of gold is up. Inflation is insane. We've got the question of tariffs. Everything in economics, everything in investing is turned over on its head. It's completely confusing. But one thing that is performing well and has performed well since the time of Abraham is gold. And with President Trump specifically exempting gold and silver bullion from these tariffs, it's a great opportunity to learn more about gold. And while these new policies are triggering significant financial chaos, the administration preserve your ability to diversify into precious metals. And if you're concerned about your savings, I encourage you to have a free consultation with a Birch Gold Metals specialist. In order to do that, there's no commitment. They can just help you understand. You can also get a free info kit. Text my name, Taylor, Taylor, to 989898 and receive your free, no obligation info kit on gold. Again, text my name, Taylor, to 989898. Learn how to hold gold and silver as a tax-sheltered account. Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a gold IRA for no money out of pocket. Birch Gold. I trust them. You should too. They have an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of thankful customers. Just text my name, Taylor, to 989898. That's Taylor to 989898. Or click the link in the show notes or in the pinned comment. Get your free info kit, and they are ready to help you. Again, no obligation. Just get educated at Birch Gold. You go to birchgold.com/Taylor to learn more. Also, I've got a couple of exciting things coming up. I have a new book that I announced yesterday, and it's already a #1 release. You can pre-order it. It is called Christian Patriot, and it is the first link or the second link below me here on YouTube. I've written this book. The foreword is by Harrison Butker, kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm talking about how do we retake society, culture, politics? How do we have a Christian community? How do we have Christian customs, even Christian laws? I'm not talking about coercing people into Christianity, but how do we get back to a society where Christ is honored and there's decency, right? There's morality. We don't have degeneracy. We don't have pride parades. We have all this stuff just thrown in our faces at work and in politics. How do we get back to that? So I wrote this book, Christian Patriot, 12 Ways to Create One Nation Under God. I give you a history of Christian politics. I look at the American founding, the positives and the negatives from a Christian Catholic point of view. And then I give 12 important steps that we can do to reclaim the culture as Christian patriots. You've heard of Christian nationalism. I'm moving us towards Christian patriotism. Why? Because patriot comes from the word patria, meaning fatherland, or the word pater, meaning father. We need strong fathers. God the Father. Today we're talking about popes, Holy Father, clergy fathers, but yes, married fathers who are able to transform the culture. And we need to have the virtue. Thomas Aquinas calls the virtue of patriotism a sub-virtue of justice. So let's look at this problem through the eyes of natural law, Scripture, Augustine, Thomas Aquinas, a Catholic worldview, and let's reclaim. So if you want to have a decent society, if you want to stop the degeneracy and have a society where Christ is king, Christ is loved, family is first, here's the 12 steps for us to do it. So you can pre-order it. I'd ask you to please pre-order it. It really helps us. You can pre-order it at Amazon.com or click the link in the show notes below me here on YouTube. A ton of people bought it yesterday. It's already a #1 new release, and it hadn't even come out yet. So thank you to everyone who pre-ordered it. This is going to be a huge book, and it's going to be a culture changer. Please join the movement. Get the book, Christian Patriot, forward by Harrison Butker. It's going to be awesome. Also, month of May is coming up. May is dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary. Over at New St. Thomas Institute, I'm offering a brand new course on Mariology, how to defend your mother, Mary. There are people, look, it's a moment right now where people are talking about what is Catholicism? What are popes? What do Catholics believe? People are coming into the church. Probably the #1 thing that people have questions on is, what's up with the Virgin Mary? Do y'all worship her? Is she a goddess? We need to know what we believe. My audience knows about the Blessed Virgin Mary, but I'm offering this course so you can go deeper. I'm going to teach you how to defend your mother, the Marian dogmas, the devotions, etc. So if you want to learn more, you can sign up directly over at New St. Thomas Institute, and that Mariology course is going to launch May 1st. Or I'm also offering a free webinar on May 1st to kick off the month of Mary. And last time we did this at Lent, I think we had 3,000 people join us, and then like 6,000 more people came along. It was a huge event. We're going to do the same thing for the month of Mary and just kick it off and just go all things Our Blessed Lady, the Immaculate Mother. So I'd love for you to join us in that webinar. It's on May 1st, which is a Thursday. Below me in the show notes, you can also join. It's free. Join us in our How to Defend Your Mother Mary webinar. So that's there as well. So those are my announcements. We got Birch Gold. We've got the new book, Christian Patriot. You can pre-order that below. And then we got the How to Defend Your Mother webinar, all sorts of awesome stuff coming up. Plus this series I'm doing right now on the cardinals who are most likely to become Pope and how popes are elected. So, yeah, let's jump into it. Let's do your Q&A. I'm going to put Cardinal Parolin back up on the screen here since he's the main focus of today's discussion. And I'm going to jump into the super chats. We got a lot of super chats here. William Kelly, thank you for your guidance and information through all this. You're terrific, Dr. Marshall. Thank you, William. I'm here to help, to teach. I want y'all to be informed. A lot of people are like, why are you even talking about this, Dr. Marshall? You can't vote. You can't do anything. I know. We don't get to vote, right? I'm not a cardinal. I'm a dad on a webcam. I have zero authority. I'm not a Monsignor. Though there was several years, like 5 years ago on April Fool's Day, I went on Twitter and I said, I want to thank Pope Francis. I'm so honored that he made me the first lay Catholic cardinal. What amazing. And it was April Fool's Day. And for like 2 weeks, I had people writing me emails and DMs like, that's so cool that you're a cardinal. Like people really believed it. And I was like, I'm sorry, it's April Fool. It was like an April Fool's joke that spun out of control. But I'm not a cardinal. I'm not going to be a cardinal, but we are Catholic. And I think it's good for us to understand the depth of the church in Europe, North America, South America, Africa, Asia, Oceania. We need to understand that we are truly universal Catholic, how the cardinals work, how popes are elected, who are the leading candidates. I don't understand. Again, we need to be informed and we need to pray. Yesterday, I said every single person in my audience, 1.3 million people, y'all need to be praying the rosary every day. You're not on the team, but you need to be praying the rosary every day for the next pope. The next pope is alive on earth right now. God knows who the next pope is. We don't. But we should be praying for that man who is going to be the next pope in 2 to 3 weeks' time. We need to pray for him. Do you agree? Like the video. All right, back to the super chats and the live chat. John Bosco, likely an Italian pope, I would bet. Last 3 have not been Italian. Yeah, I think a move back to Italy could happen. I think that's one reason why Parolin is looking strong. Pizza Balla is Italian as well. I think Pizza Balla could be one candidate who could come in and crush it with 90 votes early on. The main, and I'll talk about Pizza Balla tomorrow. I'm probably going to talk about Cardinal Sarah. I think the next day I'll do Cardinal Pizza Balla. The thing about Cardinal Pizza Balla is he's young. So if they elect Cardinal Pizza Balla, we're looking at a 25 to 30-year pontificate. Do they want to do that? That's going to be a big discussion. If they get behind, I think he's popular. I think he's dynamic. I think he has gravitas. I think he could unite, but he's young. Do you want to go 30 years with one pope? Next super chat. Sen, do you have to go to confession in order to receive salvation, or can I just pray and ask God for forgiveness? If you have mortal sin, you have to go to a priest. How do we know this? How do we know this? It's in the Bible. It's in John chapter 20. I don't have my usual Bible here on my desk, but I'll just read it for you out of the Bible. Again, it's in the Bible. It's not a medieval thing that we made up. Here you go. So the background is, this is John chapter 20. Jesus is risen from the dead. It's the first Easter. It's the first Pasch. It's the first day of the week. And Jesus came and stood in their midst and said to them, "Peace be with you." This is the first time he appears to the apostles on the evening of the resurrection. He says, "Peace be with you." And when he said this, he showed them his hands and his side. The disciples, therefore, were glad, and they saw the Lord. And he said, "Peace be to you. As the Father has sent me, I also send you," he says to the apostles. When he said this, he breathed on them. And he said, "Receive ye the Holy Ghost. Whose sins you shall forgive, they are forgiven. And whose sins you shall retain, they are retained." End quote. Jesus says, as the Father sent me, so I send you. So just as God the Father sent Jesus into the world to die for sins and to forgive sins, Jesus now sends the apostles into the world, not to die for sins, that's already happened, but also he gives them the Holy Spirit by breathing on them and says, "Whosoever sins you forgive are forgiven." Why was that the first thing Jesus said after he rose from the dead? Because it's very important. The apostles, who are men, they are not gods. They are not the Son of God. They are not half God. They are men, were given the ability to forgive sins in the name of Jesus. As the Father sent Jesus, so Jesus sent them. So if you believe in the Bible, you believe that the apostles, and by extension, the successors of the apostles, which are the Catholic priests, have the authority through ordination and the laying on of hands, unbroken for 2,000 years, have the authority to forgive your sins in Jesus' name. Jesus gave us that gift so that we could have the experience of the blood of Jesus being applied to us. And when we confess those mortal sins, I robbed a bank, and discuss it with the church, in the name of the priest, and him to say, "I absolve you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit." You walk out of there knowing that it has actually happened. If you just go in your bedroom and kneel down and say, "I robbed the bank and I'm really sorry," there's not much to that. Jesus Christ has sacramentalized forgiveness in John chapter 20. And as Catholics, we believe that. So if you want to say, "I don't need an apostle or the successor of an apostle to forgive my sins," you are directly denying the very first words Jesus said to the apostles when he rose from the dead. That's a big deal. I don't want to take that bet. I'm going to bet on Jesus rose from the dead. The very first thing he said to the apostles was he breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit, whoever sins you forgive." I believe that's real. And so I have to conform my life to that reality, and I go to confession on my knees and confess my sins to God in the presence of a priest who then says, "I absolve you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit." I hope I explained that well. I hope that's convincing. Again, to learn more, read John chapter 20. Super chat from Stephen. Thank you. Super chat from female Casey Royals fan. Do you think we could get a pope that would throw Luther's statue in the river? I hope so. That's what a pope should do. Be awesome. Larry McMonigal says, pair character with, oh, he did a sticker. Thank you for the sticker. Susie Glaze, who do you think the new pope might be? And do you think the new pope will bring back the TLM? I kind of alluded to it. I'm going to save some of that steam as we move through this series. I think on the liberal side, Cardinal Parolin has the best shot. I'm concerned that Cardinal Sarah may be considered to be too much of an outsider. But I think it would be great. If Cardinal Sarah became Pope, we would have the TLM first day. The restrictions would go away. I think Cardinal Pizzaballa would be very open to allowing the traditional Latin Mass, the traditional sacraments. I think Cardinal Erdo would as well. Those are your first row. So I really think our worst case scenario, if you want the traditional Latin Mass, is going to be with Cardinal Parolin. That's why I'm starting with him. Let's start there. Jody Carithers, hopefully I said that correct. I just want a pope that doesn't make me wonder if he's truly Catholic. Cardinal Sarah would be ideal. A conservative traditionalist. Yeah, here's Cardinal Sarah. Let's get him up here. We'll be doing Cardinal Sarah tomorrow. Boom. I think Cardinal Sarah could bring unity. He could bring some dignity. I think there'd be a lot of rehabilitation with Cardinal Sarah. He's also almost 80 years old. His pontificate would be shorter. It would definitely signal to the world that we're a global church, which is what they want to do, but this would actually show it. The thing is he's going to be a breakaway from the Francis tradition, right? Like he called Francis's blessing of same-sex couples diabolical. He's very pro ad orientem liturgy, pro Latin Mass. So, we would see all that happening. And I think that would be amazing. But he is, of the front row candidates, he is probably the most right. Cardinal Burke as well. But, Cardinal Burke, his health is not well. I don't know if he would have the cardinal the votes to be a front row runner. Maybe he could be a second row. But I think on a kind of a global stage, all eyes are on Cardinal Sarah currently. All right, so I'm going to take, since today's not the Cardinal Sarah, so I'm going to take him back down. I'm going to put Cardinal Parolin back up. Yolanda, we have another sticker. Thank you, Yolanda. Whoa, $50 super chat. That's amazing. Thank you. Seraphim says, Dr. Marshall, is there any miraculous images outside the Shroud of Turin, Tilma of Guadalupe, Rock of Los Lajas? Thanks in advance. Yeah, there is the Holy Mandilion of Edessa is one, and also the what's the name of it? Starts with an S. S-U, Sudilia. It's in northern Spain. It's the face cloth. It doesn't technically have a miraculous image on it, but it has the blood of Christ on it. So are there any other sacred images? No, I think Shroud of Turin is like number one. I've seen the Shroud of Turin. It's amazing. I've seen the Tilma several times. To me, the Tilma was much more emotive and impressive than the Shroud of Turin, though the Shroud of Turin was awesome. I saw the Shroud of Turin in Turin. They opened it up for people to see it for a very short period of time. I think that was in 2015. And I was teaching seminarians in Rome at that time, and I traveled up to Turin just in time to see the Shroud of Turin, and it was amazing. Super chat from Just Me. Cardinal Sarah's arrival to the Vatican was boss-like, considering Cardinal Zuppi and Aveline, Parolin, and Pizzaballa aren't the worst. Thanks, Dr. Marshall. We'll probably talk about Zuppi as well. He's a second row candidate, I think. I don't think he's front row. Aveline, be concerned about that. That would be a very progressive pick. So, Pizzaballa is also coming in strong, and I'm looking forward to doing the Pizzaballa podcast. Socrates McGoat says, I attended an Ash Wednesday service at my parish and had a religious experience. I now want to convert, attended my first Catholic Easter, then the Pope dies. Processing how to feel about this. Advice. My advice would be that Catholic popes come and go. There's a saying in Italy, fat pope, skinny pope, fat pope, skinny pope. What does that mean? Italians, there's been Catholics in Italy since, the days of St. Peter. First century, and they have seen popes come and go over the centuries. There's skinny ones, there's fat ones, there's all kinds, right? What remains the same is the dogma of the church, the morality of the church, right? The deposit of faith. Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Your focus as a Catholic is to be saved, is to be holy, is to become a saint, to be justified and to be justified still. to become completely transformed by the renewal of grace. So my advice for you would be to bury yourself, surround yourself with the true doctrine of the church and with Catholic devotion. So I would say start praying your rosary every day. If it's a lot for you, I'd encourage you to pray 1 decade of the rosary. I have a book called Rosary in 50 Pages. I would really encourage you to read it. If you can get it at Amazon, but I'll give you a free copy if you go to my website, taylormarshall.com, 2 L's for Marshall, taylormarshall.com. You can download the ebook version of this, and it's only 50 pages. You can read it in 1 or 2 sittings, and it'll give you the history of the rosary, Marian devotion. I would start attending Mass, and I would start meeting with a priest. I don't know if you're baptized or not validly, but you need to be validly baptized. If you are validly baptized, you need to go to confession. You need to talk to a priest about receiving the sacrament of confirmation, and you need to join the church. You don't have to wait a whole year till Easter. Usually, most converts come in at Easter. If you meet with a traditional priest in particular, and he feels that you're ready, you can come in much earlier. I came into the Catholic Church just meeting with a bishop. When he thought I was ready, he just received me. We didn't wait till Easter. So that's also an option. So I would say get close to Jesus, learn about the Mass, learn the doctrine. I'd encourage you to buy a copy of the Catechism of the Council of Trent, read that cover to cover, read the Bible, Genesis to Apocalypse, table of contents to maps, get to know the Bible, get to know Jesus, and just get deep, man. Just treat this like life and death, because it is life and death, and become a disciple of Jesus. Awesome. So that's the super chat so far. Man, 12 super chats. Cranking today. We've got over 6,000 people watching today. Everyone's psyched. It's awesome. Thank y'all for being here, by the way. I've been talking to Joy. I was like, with the death of Pope Francis and the election of a new pope, it kind of has me, thinking about what's the future like? What am I doing as a podcaster? What am I doing as a writer? What am I doing as an educator? What am I doing as a father? It's a great moment to take a deep breath, sit down, smell the roses, watch the birds fly and chirp. Beautiful. Texas right now, beautiful. 70 degrees, just awesome. And think, okay, we're at a new point here. And, what's my calling? What does God want me to do? I had a big phase in my life where I was doing a lot of theology and teaching and apologetics. I'm still doing that, but kind of got roped into all this Catholic news and Vatican and infiltration and Pope Francis. And man, what if Cardinal Sarah got elected? I could just spend all day going back to Thomas Aquinas and making podcasts on obscure passages from Thomas Aquinas and talking about things like, the Shroud of Turin and Sacrament of Confirmation and the pre-55 Holy Week and all kinds of cool stuff. I hope so. That would be awesome. Jacob, another super chat, says Cardinal Ron Geef would support reunion with SSPX. I think several cardinals would, actually. I think, there is the Vatican II boomer generation of bishops who just see Vatican II as like the cat's meow, the bee's knees. It's so cool. And they have no objectivity about it. The priests and the bishops that are coming up who didn't attend the council, weren't really a part of that movement, they get it. They're like, yeah, Vatican II, but it's not like what defines them. It's not the blood that runs through their veins. And so I think, they're not ready to die on that hill. And I think because of that, they're willing to extend a palm branch to the SSPX and say, yeah, let's come over here. Come on. Come hug. Let's hug. Come on. Meet up. Hug. Hug it out. Hug it out. So, yeah. Got to hug it out, Bros. Super chat. $80 super chat. What's even happening here? You shouldn't be super chatting me $80. That's just ridiculous. Italian-Australian football fan says, Dr. Taylor, I don't think it's Pietro Parolin 70 Italy. is Pope Francis 2.0. The cardinal I think is 2.0 Francis is Matteo Zuppi, and he was born in Rome. Sorry, Dr. Marshall, but do you know anything about the Dead Sea Scrolls? Yeshua truly says. Yeah, so a lot of people are looking for Peter the Roman, and because Zuppi is born in Rome, they're like, aha, that's the prophetic, apocalyptic pope. And I don't really buy into that, on the private revelations. Zuppi is a contender. Cardinal Zuppi is a contender. To me, he wants to be pope too much, and it shows. So I don't think he's going to become pope. I just don't see it. I'd love to be wrong. Y'all can clip this part of my face of this video and replay it for a decade to come if I'm wrong, if Zuppi is elected pope. I don't think Cardinal Zuppi has the support to get 90 votes. I just don't think so. Other than him being Rome and there being some prophecies about an end times pope from Peter the Roman, I just don't see how it happens. But anything could happen. So, and then, do you know anything about the Dead Sea Scrolls? I actually have studied the Dead Sea Scrolls quite a bit. I've actually been to the Dead Sea and viewed the Dead Sea Scrolls. But I don't think the Dead Sea Scrolls say anything about who the Pope will be in 2025. Maybe I missed that part of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Maybe I missed it. But respect to you for, I don't know, that might be the biggest super chat of all time. $80. I respect that. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe Zuppi has the numbers. Maybe I wasn't going to do a whole podcast on Cardinal Zuppi, but maybe because of your mega super chat here and your convictions on Cardinal Zuppi being the next pope, maybe that merits me to do a whole show on Cardinal Zuppi. We'll see. I thank you for your support on that. It's awesome. All right, I'm going to head over to the general chat. I know we're way over time. I usually try to keep these under 1 hour. But we've got 6,400 people live. People are digging it. We're liking it. We're having fun. I might need to get here. I got a drink here. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's hug it out. The church is the new Israel in the book of the Apocalypse. Yes, if you want more, see my book, Antichrist and Apocalypse, where I do a full commentary on the book of Revelation from a Catholic point of view. You can get a signed copy over at my Patreon page, patreon.com/Dr. Taylor Marshall. There's also a Audible version of it, #1 bestseller on New Testament studies, Antichrist and Apocalypse. Check it out. That's an amazing book. That was a hard book to write. Antichrist and Apocalypse, that was a hard book for me to write. I'll tell you that much. The new book, Christian Patriot, I was able to write that pretty good, like 2 months. Infiltration, that took me a while to write. But Antichrist and Apocalypse, that was a hard book to write because it took so much research and I had to do every single verse of the book of Revelation and get the church fathers and all the popes and all that. That was tough. Back to your comments and questions. More super chats are just flying in. Mary Cunningham. Our family is becoming Catholic, starting OCIA this fall. The church we attend is Novus Ordo. Could you explain what the current restrictions are on the Latin Mass, please? I would love to see our church offer the Latin Mass. Okay, Mary, I'm going to give you the 1-minute version. The Roman Rite, from at least the 4th century, was pretty much codified into the Roman Rite Mass. It begins with prayers at the foot of the altar or some sort of preparatory penitential rite, followed by the Kyrie eleison, 9-fold. Even Gregory the Great said it was 9-fold, the Roman Rite. The Gloria, a prayer called a collect, an epistle reading, an Alleluia psalm, the gospel. This is turning into more than 2 minutes. The gospel, a sermon. Later on, the Nicene Creed is added. Then there's the offertory, the Roman canon, the Our Father, the communion, the dismissal. That was pretty much all codified between 400 and 600. And it remained 95% unchanged with some additions like the Agnus Dei added at communion time up until 1500. And there were regional modifications, regional changes, like in Salisbury and Portugal and the Gallican Rite, and Milan had the Ambrosian version, but generally pretty solid. All right. And it was always in Latin from the 300s beyond. In the 1960s, there was actually in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, there was this thing called the liturgical movement. And they said, we need to get back to the ancient Mass, catacombs Mass. And so they had this idea that the ancient church was all sort of lovey-dovey, kumbaya, informal, chill, wooden tables, chillaxed. And that movement, unfortunately, really took over. And so in the 1960s, after the Vatican Council, they started changing Holy Week in 1951. But by 1965, they're changing the entire Mass, and they introduce new prayers and new Eucharistic prayers, and really and basically make it in vernacular and have the priest face the people instead of face with the people. And that becomes the Novus Ordo. And ever since 1969, 1970, there's been a strong, loud group of Catholics who said, excuse me, we don't want this. One of which was J.R. Tolkien, the author of The Lord of the Rings. He didn't like it. Agatha Christie, another one who didn't like it. A lot of literary, artsy people, but also a lot of theologians were like, excuse me, we don't want the kumbaya thing. We want the old one. We want Coke Classic, not New Coke. So that's been going on since the 1970s, back and forth, whether or not Catholics and priests and bishops can allow the continued use of the Vitus Ordo, the old Ordo, as opposed to the Novus Ordo, the new Ordo. And there's basically a breaking moment in 1976 with an archbishop named Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre, who started the Society of St. Pius X to continue the old way of the sacraments. That all climaxed in 1988 when allegedly Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre was lete sententiae allegedly, I don't believe he was, excommunicated for consecrating 4 bishops for the SSPX. That started the Ecclesia Dei, where you had other groups like the Fraternity of St. Peter, later Institute of Christ the King, and other groups who were providing pastoral care with the Old Mass. Then that was opened up again by Pope Benedict XVI in, I believe, 2007 or 8, with Summorum Pontificum. And he said, every Catholic priest in the whole church can say the Latin Mass. He really opened it up. And we're like, whoa, here we go. This is on. And then Pope Francis came with Traditionis Custodes, and he just screwed it down and very much restricted it and made it very difficult, basically impossible for Catholic priests who are not part of the Latin Mass orders to celebrate the traditional Latin Mass. So currently, as things stand at the death of Pope Francis, your local parish just can't start having a Latin Mass if they're following the Pope Francis rules. But if we get a new Pope and he says, you know what, I'm going to go back to Summorum Pontificum of Pope Benedict XVI, every Catholic priest can now say the Latin Mass again. Boom. Or if Bishop Athanasius Schneider was elected Pope, and he was on my show 2 weeks ago, and we talked about this very thing, he would start implementing a universal implementation of the traditional Latin Mass over the whole earth, not just like the option, but the phasing in of going back pre-Vatican II. That's 2 thumbs up. That's my style, baby. Let's hug that out. All right. So the chances right now, Mary Cunningham, and by the way, welcome to the Catholic Church. We're so glad to have you. It's an amazing time to be Catholic. There's difficulties, but you're going to love it. It's the pearl of great price. Sell everything you have, give up everything, and become Catholic. It's amazing. All right. Are you going to have thorns on your forehead? Yes. Are you going to have to carry the cross? Yes. Is it worth it? Absolutely yes. So I would say focus on becoming a Catholic, study your Catholic theology, read the catechism, read the entire Bible. Hey, join me over at nsti.com. I'd be happy to teach you courses online, you and your family. Let's do it, baby. You can get started. There's a link in the show notes to start for $1. Let's do it. Let's go. nsti.com. But yeah, just get real deep in your faith. Get really close to Jesus, and then let's find out who the next pope is, and let's find out, what happens. Can we ban the pro-Tagle guy? Is there a pro-Tagle guy in the live chat? Bro, I'm telling you, Cardinal Tagle is not going to be elected. All right. He cries. He does breakdance videos and stuff. He's just cringe. He doesn't have the gravitas of being a pope. All right. And he doesn't have the support right now. So, and he's like the Asian Francis. Nobody wants the Asian Francis. So Cardinal Tagle, he's out. He's out. It's not going to happen. Pray your rosary every day, but it ain't going to happen. Another super chat. I'm going to finish these 2 super chats, so I'm going to hang it up. Skibbity Groiper. Skibbity. That's like brain rot talk, right? Skibbity. What does skibbity mean? I think it means bad. Could Burke get it? Cardinal Burke get it? He is American, which works against him. Yeah, I think Cardinal Burke, he's American. He's very traditional. I've met Cardinal Burke. I've been to Latin Mass with Cardinal Burke. I love Cardinal Burke. He's one of the most holy cardinals we have. I hear his health is not well, and you already mentioned it, he's American. I really think with the global dominance of President Trump throwing his weight around and being the big dog on campus globally, the chances of an American cardinal being elected are like 0. I just really think there's no way they're going to put all the power with Trump and then also elect a hyper, conservative traditionalist cardinal from America. Don't see that happening just because of Donald Trump. So love Cardinal Burke. I would love to see Cardinal Burke as Pope, Pope Leo. I would love to see him Pope Leo the 14th. He'd be amazing. I would be 110% behind that. I just think with the current global political situation, American popes are not going to be included in consideration. Thanks for being here, Skibbity. Last super chat, John Bosco, over and under on white smoke in 45 days. Oh, it's going to be less than 45 days, my brother. In 15 days, is that right? Yeah. 15 days, we're going to have a conclave. 15 to 20 days, we're going to have a conclave. I don't think it's going to go over a week. So let's just say it takes 20 days to get started. I think 27 days, we're done. We got one. We got what we got. So 45 days, that's I don't see that happening unless there's just total war, just war. Locked horns. So, all right. Well, pray your rosary every day or you're not on the team. Pray that rosary. Pick up the beads. Rattle the beads. Get this book for free. Rosary in 50 pages. Go to taylormarshall.com. You get a free ebook of this book. It's fantastic. It is the most concise theological history reason for the rosary. Teaches you how to pray the rosary in English and Latin at the back if you want to do that. While you're at taylormarshall.com, you can also pick up one of my World War I recreation rosaries. It's the rosary I pray. That's store.taylormarshall.com if you want one of those. Pray your rosary every day and pray your rosary for the next 15, 27 days, whatever. I'm praying 5 decades for whoever the next pope is. I'm also praying for the repose of the soul of Francis. I did that last night. I'm also praying the beads for gifts and grace and spiritual charisms to come down upon the man who will be elected to be the Pope, the Vicar of Christ, the Bishop of Rome, the Patriarch of Rome. All right, so please pray your rosary every day. Pray for the repose of the soul of Francis. Pray for the next Pope. All right. Check out our sponsors, Birch Gold, Field of Greens. I like it. And, join my webinar. Click on the link below. Defend Your Mother Mary webinar. We're going to be doing that. Join NSTI. There's a link for $1 on that. And then also, I guess got so many tasks for y'all. Get a pre-order Christian Patriot, Amazon.com. There's the link below. Get some. We're going to change the culture. And until next time, remember, our Lord Jesus Christ says, you're the light of the world and the salt of the earth. So go out there and be salty. God bless, Godspeed, and we'll see you tomorrow. We're going to cover Cardinal Sarah, so make sure you're subscribed. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless.